first night it happened, it was quiet. Too quiet for a town like ours. The kind of silence that presses against your chest. Welcome everyone, thank you for listening. Let me know where you're tuning in from to support the channel. I'd moved to Cold Creek 3 months before that night. A small town tucked between endless woods and slow rivers. People there smiled, but never for too long. They all said the same thing when I arrived. Don't stay out after dark, especially near the old store. I didn't take it seriously. Superstitions always cling to small towns. But the way they looked at me when they said it, like they knew something I didn't, stayed with me. I rented a small apartment above that same store. It had belonged to an old man named Harris. He'd passed away quietly, they said. No one really talked about him anymore. The place smelled like dust and pine. Floors creaked under every step. But it felt real, grounded. I liked that. The first 2 nights were normal. Wind against the glass. A few distant dogs barking. That's how nights sound in towns like this. But on the 3rd night, I saw it. The mirror in the hallway. I hadn't noticed it before. Tall, narrow, with an old wooden frame. It leaned slightly forward as if listening. When I walked past, I caught my reflection. But something felt wrong. Like a half-second delay. My reflection didn't move exactly when I did. I laughed it off. Told myself it was just the light. Old glass distorts, warps time a little. That's what I told myself. But that night, I dreamt of it. In the dream, I was standing in front of that mirror. But I wasn't moving. My reflection was, it smiled first, then raised its hand slowly, and touched the glass from the inside. When I woke up, my window was open, and the mirror had shifted slightly closer to the bed. I tried to ignore it. Work during the day helped. I stocked shelves, greeted customers, swept the porch. But every time I came home, the mirror felt closer. I thought maybe I was just tired. Maybe grief was playing tricks on me. The apartment had belonged to my uncle before he died. He always said mirrors hold things. I never understood what he meant until then. By the end of the week, I covered it with a sheet. I couldn't stand looking at it anymore. But at night I heard it creak, wood shifting softly, like something breathing underneath. One night I got up for water. The moonlight spilled across the hallway, and I saw the sheet had fallen off. The mirror stood bare again. I stopped. Couldn't move, because my reflection wasn't there. Just the hallway behind me, empty, still. I blinked hard, and then it appeared. Slow, delayed. Like it had been waiting for me to notice. I whispered my uncle's name. Nothing, just my reflection staring back. Head tilted slightly as if listening. That's when the light in the kitchen flickered. Once, twice, then went out completely. I stood frozen in the dark. The air heavy, like someone was right behind me. I turned toward the kitchen. Empty, just the hum of the fridge. But when I turned back to the mirror, the reflection hadn't moved. I stepped closer, heart pounding so loud it echoed in my ears. I lifted my hand, and my reflection didn't follow. It just watched, like I was the stranger, like I was on the wrong side of the glass. I whispered to myself, "It's not real." But the reflection smiled. A slow, quiet smile that wasn't mine. That's when the floor creaked behind me again. Soft steps. Coming closer, the kind that don't belong to anyone you can see. I turned. Nothing there. But in the mirror, there was someone standing right behind me. I couldn't breathe for a moment. That reflection, that figure behind me, it wasn't supposed to be there. I turned slowly, but the hallway was empty. Only the low hum of the night around me. My heart was pounding so hard. I felt it in my fingertips. The air felt colder near the mirror, like the glass was stealing the warmth away. I forced myself to step closer. I wanted to see clearly. Maybe it was just my eyes playing tricks, but deep down I knew it wasn't. I whispered again, "Who's there?" My voice barely came out. The reflection behind me didn't fade. It just stood there, silent, blurred by the glass. For a second, I thought I saw movement, the shadow's head turning slightly, like it was looking at me through my own reflection. Then the light flickered once more, and everything went black. I stumbled backward, hands searching the wall. I could still feel the mirror in front of me, cold, pulsing faintly, like a heartbeat trapped beneath glass. I reached for the lamp on the table. It clicked on weakly. The mirror was empty again. No reflection at all, just my pale face, barely visible. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound made me flinch. The wind, the creaking floors, even the old clock ticking. They all felt different somehow, aware. When the sun finally rose, I decided to move the mirror. I dragged it into the small storage room at the back, covered it again with the sheet, and locked the door. But that night, I heard something. A soft dragging noise coming from the hallway, like wood scraping gently across the floorboards. I froze in bed, listening. It stopped, then started again, slower this time, closer. I told myself it was nothing. Old buildings make noise, that's what I kept saying. But I could hear breathing too, faint, steady, right outside my door. I didn't open it. I just waited. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt wrong, stretched thin, then silence again, heavy and absolute. When morning came, I went to the storage room. The door was still locked, but when I opened it, the sheet was gone. The mirror stood bare again. I felt sick. The sunlight hit the glass, and for a moment, my reflection smiled at me, even though I wasn't smiling. I ran out of the apartment, didn't even lock the door. I walked aimlessly through the empty main street. Shops closed, windows dark, like the whole town was holding its breath. At the diner, I met an old woman. She looked at me like she knew who I was. "You're staying above Harris's place, aren't you?" she said softly. I nodded, afraid to ask how she knew. She leaned closer. "Don't look at the mirror after sundown." Her voice trembled when she said it. Then she stood and walked away. I wanted to call after her, but something in her eyes told me not to. It wasn't warning, it was pity. When I returned home that evening, the air felt thick, colder than before. The smell of dust and pine was sharper, like something old had woken up. I checked the hallway again. The mirror was gone. I searched every room. Nothing. Not under the stairs, not behind the furniture. It had vanished completely. But that night, when I brushed my teeth, I saw it again. Not in the hallway, in the small bathroom mirror above the sink. Behind my reflection, a faint outline, waiting. I turned around quickly. Nothing there. But when I faced the mirror again, the reflection whispered something. I didn't hear it clearly, just one word, maybe my name. I backed away slowly, heart racing. The mirror fogged up slightly from my breath, and a handprint appeared on the inside of the glass. I dropped the toothbrush, stumbled backward. The lights flickered again. That low humming sound returned, the same one I'd heard from the hallway. It wasn't coming from the walls. It was coming from the mirror itself, like something humming softly, trying to find its way out. I reached for the door handle, but it wouldn't turn. It felt wet, cold, like something was holding it from the other side. The humming stopped. Silence filled the room again, and then faintly through the fogged mirror, my reflection smiled and whispered my name again. I didn't sleep at all that night. I sat by the window until dawn, watching the fog roll in over the street. The reflection's voice kept echoing in my head. That whisper, my name, drawn out like a breath. It didn't sound angry, just certain, like it had waited too long. When morning came, I packed a small bag. Clothes, some cash, my uncle's old car keys. I didn't look in any mirrors, not even once. The town looked deserted. Shops still closed, streets empty, air heavy with mist. Even the birds were silent that morning. I got into the truck and started driving. The road wound through the woods for miles. The trees leaned close, dark and still. I didn't look at the rearview mirror. I couldn't. The silence inside the truck was unbearable. Every bump, every turn sounded too loud, like the world was holding its breath again. After an hour, I dared to glance up once, just a quick look at the mirror, and froze. My reflection was staring back, but my mouth wasn't open. In the glass, it was whispering something. I slammed the mirror upward, turned it toward the ceiling, my hands shaking so bad I could barely steer. I didn't care where I was going anymore, just away from Cold Creek. But the road kept twisting. Every curve looked the same. Tall trees, fading light, no signs anywhere. It felt like driving in circles. I stopped by the side of the road, stepped out into the cold air. The woods were silent, not a single sound, not even wind. When I turned back toward the truck, the driver's side window was fogged up from the inside. A faint handprint was pressed against the glass. I dropped my bag and stumbled back. I could see my reflection faintly through the window, but it wasn't moving again. It tilted its head slowly and smiled. That same slow, patient smile. I heard the door locks click by themselves. I ran toward the trees. Branches clawing at my jacket, mud dragging at my boots. I didn't stop until the truck was gone from sight. Somewhere between the trees I found an old cabin. Abandoned, dust everywhere, a broken chair in the corner. I slammed the door shut and sat against the wall. I tried to catch my breath. My hands were bleeding from the branches. My reflection's face kept flashing in my head. I told myself it couldn't follow me here. No mirrors, no glass, just wood, dust, and silence. Then I heard it again, that faint humming sound, low, steady like before. It was coming from the corner of the room. I turned slowly. There was an old picture frame on the floor. Its glass cracked, but still holding together. My reflection was inside it, watching me from the broken shards. It blinked once. Even though I didn't, I covered the frame with my jacket and backed away. I could still hear the humming underneath. It was louder now, like something alive. I ran outside again. The sun was almost gone. The woods glowed red with dying light. I followed a dirt path that led downhill, toward the river. I could hear it faintly through the trees. If I could cross it, maybe it would stop following. When I reached the bank, the water looked still, like glass stretched across the earth. And then I saw it again, my reflection in the water. But this time, it was standing closer, right behind me. I turned fast. No one there, only the sound of rushing water and my own breath. I looked down again. Now there were two reflections, mine and another face beside it. It leaned close, lips moving silently beneath the water. I dropped to my knees, heart hammering, afraid to blink. The reflection's hand reached upward through the water's surface, ripples spreading like whispers. And the voice returned, calm, steady. "You can't leave yet." I stumbled backward, slipped in the mud. My hand brushed the river, ice cold, almost solid. Something beneath it moved. Slowly, deliberately, I ran back toward the woods, blind with panic. Didn't look down, didn't look back, just ran until I reached the road again. When I looked up, my truck was there, parked exactly where I'd left it. Only I was already sitting inside. I froze at the edge of the road. The truck's engine was running, softly, steadily, and inside, I saw myself sitting there. Same clothes, same hands on the wheel, but the head turned just slightly toward me. The smile was wrong, too calm, too sure. The window was half open. Cold air drifted out, carrying that faint humming sound again. I called out, "Hey!" My voice cracked in the still air. The other me didn't answer. He just lifted one hand slowly. I stepped closer. Each crunch of gravel felt like thunder. The smell of gasoline and pine filled the night. When I reached the door, my reflection turned its head completely. Its eyes were open, but there was no light in them. Just darkness, like deep water. And then, it blinked once. The humming grew louder. The mirror on the side of the truck shimmered faintly, ripples spreading across the glass like breath on water. I reached for the handle. My hand touched cold metal, and instantly, something pulled from the other side. Not hard, just enough to let me know it was real. I yanked my hand back, heart pounding against my ribs. The engine stopped on its own. Silence fell again. Thick, endless silence. The other me leaned forward in the seat, pressed his palm against the inside of the window. A faint print appeared on the glass, matching mine exactly. He mouthed something I couldn't hear. Then the headlights flickered on by themselves. Blinding white light. I stumbled back, covered my eyes. When the light faded, the truck was empty again. Door open, engine dead. I climbed inside slowly. The seat was still warm, and there was a wet mark on the steering wheel. I turned the key. Nothing. The radio hissed for a second. Then a whisper slid through the static. "You shouldn't have looked." I shoved the door open and jumped out. My echo followed in the gravel, one step behind every move I made. When I turned around, no one there, but my shadow stretched longer than it should have. Longer, darker, until it touched the truck door. And then it moved on its own. I ran back toward town. The trees looked twisted in the moonlight. The same dirt road that had taken hours before now ended in minutes. Cold Creek appeared ahead, silent as always. The windows in every house were dark, except one, my apartment above the store. A single light burned in the hallway, right where the mirror used to stand. I knew I shouldn't go back, but I did. Inside, the air was stale and heavy. The sheet I'd used to cover the mirror was on the floor again, and the mirror stood exactly where it had been. Only now, there were two reflections inside it. Both of them me, one smiling, one still, and I couldn't tell which one I really was anymore. I whispered, "What do you want?" The smiling one stepped forward in the glass, raised its hand and pressed it against mine. The surface rippled like water. Cold spread through my fingers. Up my arm, I tried to pull away, but it held on. The humming filled the whole room now. Every light flickered, the air thick with static and breath. I screamed for help, but no sound came out. The reflection leaned closer, its eyes inches from mine, and in a voice that was exactly my own. It said, "Trade places." I felt the pull again, stronger this time. The floor disappeared beneath me. Everything went white. When I opened my eyes, I was staring at the room. From the other side of the glass, I tried to move, but my body outside didn't. He stood there, breathing, touching the frame, looking at me trapped inside. Then he whispered softly, "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything." He turned off the light and walked away, and I stayed there, inside the mirror, watching him live my life. Days passed, maybe weeks. Time doesn't move the same behind glass. Sometimes I see people walk by. They never notice me, but every night, when it's quiet, he comes back to the hallway and stands in front of me, smiling. He leans close to the glass and whispers the same words. "You can't leave yet." I don't know how long it's been now. Days blur together behind the glass. The world outside feels distant, muffled, like a memory fading underwater. He still lives there in my body. He walks through the streets, speaks to people like nothing's wrong. Sometimes I can hear his voice faintly through the mirror. It sounds exactly like mine. When he leaves the apartment, the hallway grows quiet again. Dust gathers around the frame. Light moves differently here, slower, softer, like it doesn't want to stay. I tried to scream once, but the sound just bounced around inside the glass. Came back to me like an echo that wasn't mine. If you've ever felt something watching you in the dark, this story might feel familiar. The mirror world isn't black or empty. It looks like the same room, but wrong. Colors drained away, air too still, time hanging between heartbeats. Sometimes I see other faces in the glass behind me. They appear for a second, then vanish like smoke, all of them looking out, silently begging to be seen. I think there are others like me, trapped, replaced, forgotten. Their reflections still living outside, pretending to be them. He visits more often now, Always at night, always alone. He wipes the dust from the glass gently, smiling that same quiet smile. Last night he brought someone home, a woman I didn't recognize. They laughed softly as they passed the hallway, but she stopped when she saw the mirror. She said something I couldn't hear. Then she stepped closer. Her reflection flickered once beside mine, and I saw her eyes widen in fear. He turned her away quickly, covered the mirror with the old sheet again. But before it went dark, I saw her reflection stay behind. Now there are two of us here. She hasn't spoken yet, but I can feel her breathing close to me, her eyes searching for a way out. He must know what's happening. I see him pacing the hallway sometimes, talking to himself, or maybe to us. The humming sound fills the apartment again, stronger each night. Maybe the glass can't hold all of us forever. Maybe that's why it calls to people. It needs someone new, someone curious enough to look too long. The cracks are spreading now, thin white lines crawling through the surface like veins. Every time he passes by, they widen a little more. I press my hands against the inside, feel the air beyond it. So close, so real. But the harder I push, the colder it gets. Tonight feels different though. There's thunder outside, wind rattling the windows. He's standing in front of the mirror again, staring at it, staring at me. He whispers softly, maybe it's time to switch back. The glass trembles beneath his hand. The cracks shimmer like silver lightning across the surface. Light fills everything for a moment, and then I'm standing in the hallway again, breathing real air, heart pounding inside my chest. The mirror stands before me, silent, whole again. But when I look inside, he's still there, smiling softly from the other side, whispering words I can't quite hear. I back away slowly, grab my coat, my keys, anything to leave that place behind. The air feels lighter outside, but colder somehow. As I drive out of town, rain starts falling across the windshield. I catch my reflection in the rearview mirror again, and this time, it doesn't blink.